Should I do it in Hawaiian?
So what can I get for you today?
Oh, there's so many things that looks good. Take the beef stew today.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Olin Lagon, and I'm a social entrepreneur. So I start companies that are rooted in solving community problems. My current social venture is an energy company. And so we solve the ability for low resourced communities or communities that don't have a lot of opportunities to participate in clean energy programs. My personal life, which is very light, like I haven't driven a gas car in 20 years. My home hasn't used net power for 15 years. But even with that, it doesn't compete to the actual footprint that my mom left. And so she lived very lightly on this earth, never drove a car, never bought a TV, didn't travel. And so like that legacy for me is one that I really try to live up to. My mom was the oldest in a really large Hawaiian family. And so she dropped out at the 6th grade to take care of her siblings. And so she wasn't very literate. She couldn't read or write, do much math. And so when my dad died, she had to find a job. We were living in Palolo housing at the time. And so I just remember it being so incredibly hard for me to watch my mom not find a job. Like she went everywhere. And I saw things that I shouldn't have seen as a kid, like your mom crying and coming home. And so one day she came home and she was elated, like just on fire, happy, because she got a job at Zippy's. And I remember that like it was yesterday. She struggled the first month. She initially was at the cashier and she was making mistakes and she felt really bad and she thought they were gonna fire her, but they didn't. So Zippy's then moved her to the bakery. And then when she was at the bakery, she told me she really struggled because she couldn't write. And so when people would ask for a personalized cake, she'd have to ask someone else to do that. And so it wasn't a really good fit for her there too, but they didn't fire her. She came home distraught, but they kept moving her. So she went and started cooking. And then that didn't work out so well. And then she went and found this role as just like a prep and like general help. And they kept her and she thrived there. And so like it was an early lesson in compassion and working with folks and finding the good in folks. And, they had every reason to fire her, but they didn't. Sure, the early days of the computing era, I was like 6 or 7 years old. And I told her like I wanted to learn how to program on a computer. And so she went and borrowed money from our pastor to buy me a computer in 1981. And we were living in KPT at the time. I don't know anybody that had a computer. And that was because she worked here at Zippy. So she could afford $20 a month for a whole year so that I could get a subsidized computer that the church paid for the other half. But because of that, I learned how to design software at an early age. And I've gone on to write software that has been used by millions of people around the world. So in some ways, I don't know if I would have done that had it not been for her ability, her agency to actually buy me a computer while we lived in KPT, the poorest community in the entire state. I guess I never saw that, how important that job was for me, like the things that I was able to do. So to this day, this is my favorite restaurant. I come here all the time. Right, this is like, you need some of this stuff, yeah. Gift, yeah, magic, yeah. There you go.
How's it taste?
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's good. One thing about Zippy's is that no matter who you are, you will find something on this menu to satisfy everyone. So when she got older, she decided to live with my sister on the Big Island, but Zippy's wasn't on the Big Island. So as a result, she retired from Zippy's and went to live with my sister. And I know she didn't want to go. She stayed here. She tried to make it on her own, but she couldn't. It was already getting expensive. At this time, I was an undergrad, studying engineering and accounting. I ended up giving her all the scholarships I got because she couldn't afford her rent. I couldn't stand that the rents just kept going up on her, up and up and up. And so as a result, it got to a point where we could have continued that, but I think she knew that I needed to finish school and she needed to be in something more stable. And my sister was begging her, like, come, like, we want you here. And so the timing is right. And then I also know that she didn't want to go because when she got homestead again, she came back and ended up in Guatemala. Hawaiians are suffering worse than any other ethnicity in the only homelands that they have. And I've seen that with my own eyes and the work that I do. And so my mom left Zippy's because of that statistic. My sister had to move because that was the only place she could afford to live. She was priced out of Oahu. And so if you want to read more about that, there's Aloha United Way has this Alice report that they put out each year. The last one just came out last week, and they track like by ethnicity, what are some of the social and economic characteristics of the population. Yeah, she passed away almost a decade ago, and she was in her late 70s. But I was with her almost every week for years. Brought my boys there. She was on the homestead in Waimanalo, so we're able to spend a lot of time with her. So I guess my closing appreciation for her always comes back to humility. Just, we had things we would say that I think still hold true, like no make big body, no hog cheese. Like she would never hog cheese. And then, no talk stink. And so like those are like simple things that I think if we all jumped in and participated, imagine how beautiful this world would be.